Yo! It's that time. DBD Random Perks number 10. Number 10! Number 10! I can't believe it. Yo, real quick. This is actually going to be a kind of a special episode. I'm going to actually film myself editing one of these matches. I'm going to make a video showing step by step from beginning to end, essentially. Yup. Thank you everyone so much for going with me on my editing journey and watching my videos up until this point. I still plan on continuing to make DBD videos for you, but I thought this video would be great where I show you the process of how I've been making these videos. I'm absolutely no expert in DaVinci Resolve, but I still know I have a lot I can teach and share. As someone who's only just started to grasp the concept of video editing, I believe I can share my process with you and give you a different perspective on editing compared to that of someone who's been doing this for a long time. So, some things I'm going to be teaching. I'm going to be teaching how I set up my OBS and programs to download, as well as some sites to visit. I'm going to teach you how I record my footage and organize it so I have the best time editing and not to burn myself out. I'm going to show you asset collection, where I get memes, sound effects, and music, and how I add it in my footage. DaVinci Resolve, the meat of this video, how to navigate around DaVinci and how I skim, cut, organize, edit, and finalize an entire video. I won't cover everything in DaVinci, as I'm still learning new tricks, but you don't need to know or use everything in DaVinci just to utilize it. Video thumbnails. I'm going to show you how I make my thumbnails in Gimp, a free Photoshop tool to make my videos pop. And finally, we're going to upload it to YouTube, and I'm going to show you the upload process that I go through. But wait, have you even seen my videos? Look, regardless if you've been following my channel or you're here to learn some DaVinci Resolve tricks of my editing process, I would recommend you at least watch DBD Random Perks number 10. This is currently the style of editing I use, and that might help you understand a bit more as to what it is I'm teaching. But not only that, I'll actually be using footage from DBD Random Perks number 10, so if you want to see the edits we're doing in video, be sure to watch that first. Regardless, some of the more basic techniques are rolled up into this one video, and no matter what you're editing, I hope this video just clicks with you and you learn something. So first thing we're going to talk about is things that you should download, and I'm going to have all links posted below in the video description, and I'm going to try to have video timestamps scattered out throughout the video so you can get to where you need to go. First things first is we're going to need Streamlabs OBS or normal OBS, a computer software to actually record gameplay or whatever it is you want to do here with this video. Lightshot is a great app that lets you take screenshots quick and easy for anything, anywhere. All you have to do is push your print screen button. I use Gimp, a free Photoshop for thumbnails and other memes. Audacity is great for yoinking any audio I want to use. DaVinci Resolve is going to be the meat of this video. This is the greatest video editor I've ever used, and it is absolutely free, and we're going to be using the free version today as well. And finally, I have a little Chrome extension called TubeBuddy, which is just extra analytics for YouTube, as well as some handy tools to help me upload. In OBS here, we need to set up our recording sequence to give us individual audio controls between gameplay and microphone. At the bottom left, there's a cogwheel. We're going to hit that, output, recording, and we're going to set audio tracks to 3. Then, we're right above mixer here, the cogwheel for that, and we can designate which audio wave is going to go down what track. We're going to ignore video capture device. This is because my webcam has a microphone in it, but we aren't using that. In this example, because I stream and Twitch only has the one audio channel, I have both my desktop, which is my game volume audio, and my microphone audio going into track 1, as you see highlighted. But for recording purposes, we're going to assign desktop, the game audio, also on track 2, and my microphone on track 3. So with no real additional work, I can stream with no problems, and whenever I want to record, I'll be left with 3 audio tracks in my video. Track 1 contains both files, and since that's specifically for stream, I delete that right away because it's a mixed track, leaving me with 2 separated audio tracks, 1 and 2, to adjust and move or cut as I see fit without taking the other with it. A good example of this is if I sneeze while recording, but I really want the footage. I don't have to have the game audio suddenly disappear if I want to mute my sneeze. We'll cover more on this specific part later once we get to editing. Time to record your footage, but do not just sit down and record a 2-hour play session. Editing a 2-hour long video in DaVinci is exhausting, and I have a much better method to share. Now this is dependent on the game you play, but I recommend you record in around 15 to 20 minute bursts. For DBD this is perfect, as I can record myself before I enter a match and stop the recording the moment I'm done with it. Then I can immediately hit record again for the next match. Working with these smaller video files have made it easier to organize my videos, decide what videos go in and what videos don't, help my motivation for working with smaller pieces at a time, and less risk for video corruption. The way I label my videos in DBD is similar to how Super Mario displays worlds. The examples in this video show a bunch of videos I organized for video number 4. I displayed them such as 4-1 Blight Meh, or 4-2 Nemi Bad, or 4-5 Wraith Great. This tells me what video I recorded this footage for, video 4, what number match I'm currently in, 1, 2, or 3, who the killer was, and the overall vibe I got from the match itself. I don't label my videos while I'm doing the recording process though. Instead, I keep a handy pen and notebook on my desk and I write them down exactly as I explained. Then once I'm done, and I have around 15 to 20-ish minute matches, I go back and I use my notebook as a reference and label them all at once. And then I put them in the raw footage folder I keep. Another way I keep organized is when I start recording for a match, I verbally say what I'm recording, like I'm queued up for match 6-3. That way I can quickly assess what the video is in the first 5 seconds of playing it. This simple and effective organizing strategy has helped me tremendously from making videos whenever I felt like it to getting videos finished around every Friday, as I've been doing. For a vast majority of the sound effects I use, I go to this website called My Instance. From here, there's a bunch of colorful buttons that you can just click and hear whatever sound has been attached to them. There's a nice search bar as well if you want something specific. If you find a sound you like, just look at the name at the bottom of the button and click Download MP3, and just like that, you've got yourself a sound effect. Sometimes I have an idea of what sound I want, so I'll just search it up, or something similar, but if you're just starting and don't even have a decent pool to pick from, just browse the popular or trending section and start clicking and saving whichever sounds you hear and like. Most of your sounds will automatically go to your downloads folder, and sometimes with weird or different names than what sounds they actually play. Once again, it'll be wise to make a dedicated folder of these sound effects and rename the file to whatever will help you find them in the future. DaVinci will only look for the files you put into it from the location you brought it in from, so if you use a sound in a video, then try to organize it later, DaVinci won't know where the sound went and you'll have a little additional work on your hands. For Yoinking audio, whether it's sound effects or music, we'll need Audacity. You can easily set up Audacity to directly record whatever you would play from your PC. This can be sounds from a video or music. I mainly use this for my music on YouTube, but if there's a sound you want but can't find on My Instance, you can use this method as well. Here, I'm showing you how we can yoink some music. This does not make you exempt from any copyright claim or anything like that, so while you can take just about anything, be mindful to what you put in a video. In this example, I'm yoinking some music from Kevin MacLeod, a musician known for his copyright-free music that I know you've definitely heard before. You only need to press record on Audacity and then play on whatever video source that you want the sound or music from. This will record anything that will play on your PC, so don't get your music interrupted by getting pinged on Discord. Go streamer mode. Once you're done recording, go ahead and go to File, Export As, Wave, that's what I use, whichever you like, and make yourself clean and organized with the music folder. There are some websites you can go and quickly download a YouTube link into a video or audio, but a lot of those sites gave me some sketchy vibes, so do this at your own risk as well. Personally, I love to sit down and relax while stockpiling these assets for the next video I want to use. Now, I use a lot of Nintendo and video game music in my videos, but I also love to use 99 Lives music for my ending. 99 Lives has a vast selection of copyright-free music they allow you to use, and you only have to copy and paste a small thing in your video description. If you've seen my videos, my personal favorite to use is Day Beautiful. Definitely subscribe to them and get yourself some music. Whenever I want a meme, YouTube continues to be the only resource you'll need. Simply type up green screen memes in the search bar and you'll be greeted by hundreds of videos. Once I find a video I like, I do another yoinking process with OBS because, again, while there are websites and links that lead me directly to a download, it's all a bit too sketch for me, so use those at your own risk. But if you want to do it like me, I'll simply full screen the video, hit record on OBS with display capture, and let the video play. When it's done, it'll drop in my videos folder by default, and I'll go grab it when I'm ready. Sometimes the video is so short that the play bar and information at the top and bottom of the screen won't go away in time, or at all. Whenever I experience this issue, I just zoom in to the video and cut it out. Sure, the original video is zoomed in, but it's a meme. Nothing needs to be perfect about it, as long as the funnies get to the audience. Alright, here's the meat of the video, DaVinci Resolve. How I use my DaVinci Resolve to edit these videos. DaVinci Resolve is free to use, and I'm actually using the free version right now to make the video we're going to make today. I am a studio user, which means I own the paid version of DaVinci, but I uninstalled it and I'm going to be using the free version to help show you don't need any of the fancy tools to make my kind of videos. Don't be intimidated by DaVinci. I know there's a lot of buttons to click and explore. Directly at the bottom, you'll see a row of pictures, and you may or may not have labels on them. My first tip for DaVinci, right-click everything. So at the bottom, you can see your little pictures to show icons only, or icons and labels. So make sure icons and labels are checked. Most of what I'm teaching today is going to happen solely in the edit page. That's the heart of my process, so we're going to go there immediately. I'm dragging the intro video from episode number 10 right onto the timeline in DaVinci to give us a visual to help us. Okay, so first things first, these key binding controls suck. We need to change these settings right away, and I promise you'll have a much easier time. So at the top left, we have DaVinci Resolve, Keyboard Customization. From here, you can change any and everything to your heart's desire, and I'm going to show you how I have it set up to suit my needs. Now, I split clips a lot, and DaVinci's blade mode is going to be reduced to a single key press. Because I used to work with Vegas for video editing, I was using the S key to quickly cut up footage, and I want that back. So, on the keyboard here, I'm going to click the S key, and then at the bottom left, you'll see it's already set up to another command, in this case the toggle slip slide mode. Don't worry, we'll remove these commands soon. Now in the middle right, there's a search bar, and we're going to search split. Now make sure the middle section, commands, is set to all commands for search to work properly. Now at the bottom right from our search, we found split. By default, it looks like it's Control/, and that's just about the grossest key combo I can imagine. You can leave it like that and add the S key to the box next to it, or just flat out delete the original command. But either way, we're changing one of these key bindings to make it the S key. Now it says there's a conflict, as we already saw earlier that the S key was already tied to a different command. Now on the left side of the screen, we can see that the S key now does two things. But if we click the words toggle slip slide mode, it should take us directly to that control on the right side. From there, where the command says S, we're just going to click the little X to remove S as its command, and now that hazard symbol should go away. Now we're going to repeat the same process to give us an easy way to zoom in and out of our timeline, and we're going to be using the A and D key, which are on the left and right of the S key. So we're going to do the same steps for the A key, as I want that to be zoom out. So I'll click the A key on my virtual keyboard here. I'll go over to the search bar and I'll search zoom out, and I'll set command to A. I'll exit the search bar, then I'll go to the left and I'll click on the normal edit mode that it's already set to, and it'll take me to wherever that was. I'll click that on the right side and I'll remove A as key binding. Easy. Next up is the D key, and that's going to be my zoom in. We'll repeat these same steps and set D to zoom in. If something isn't working or you're getting stuck, make sure you X out of the search bar on the right, and in the middle section there, make sure you're on all commands. And now, with my left hand, I can zoom in, make a cut, zoom out, and repeat as needed while using my right hand for the mouse. My last little helpful tip to get us started here is currently your mouse wheel won't do you much good. But at the top, at View, you'll see Enable 2D Timeline Scroll that's checked by default. Uncheck that, and your mouse wheel can now scroll along the timeline to go further up or backwards. This, with the key changes we made earlier, saves me an immense amount of time and frustration. This is super critical to how I do things. Now we're going to cover more things in DaVinci as we go, but for now we'll continue on and we're going to delete track 1 from the intro video that I dragged and dropped in here earlier. You can see that we have the 3 audio tracks from the one video after we set up our OBS. The first track is for Twitch, and this is a mixed track of gameplay and microphone. Clicking on track 1 should select everything as it's linked together in the same file, but by using Alt-click, you'll select whatever we want individually. Alt-click track 1 and we're going to backspace. If we use delete, it'll remove the entire video. From here, I can alt-click tracks 2 and 3 and drag them up to take over the new space. You can also just leave that space blank and use it for memes instead, but for this video, I'll be dragging it up. We can go ahead and rename the audio tracks now to help us keep familiar with our own audio. Track 1 is now gameplay, while track 2 is microphone. You can click on each individual track section to make them bigger or smaller and choose how to show the audio/video by clicking between them. And your middle mouse button can help you pan up or down in the audio video based on wherever your cursor is. Now we're going to be skimming our videos, and this can be the most daunting part. Skimming through your own footage and deciding what stays in and what must go. This is another great reason why we keep our videos broken up into smaller files, as this can get tedious, but I have a great way to help sift through your own videos as well. Now pay attention to your microphone audio tracks, which should be track 2 now, and you can see the audio waves of where I talked and didn't talk. Using this, I can quickly jump around the timeline using my mouse wheel and A and D keys to zoom in and out, and the S key to make splits. Our goal is to isolate the parts we want to keep in our video and the parts we don't want. I'll skim through the video and I'll make splits in dead silent spots like this, and use delete to ripple delete the timeline, and that's effectively how I cut down the video. But not every silent part needs to be cut, and not every part I'm talking is valuable to keep, so keep that in mind when combing through your video. If I have some great footage, but I ruin it by sneezing, or if I have a great meme idea, but I'm talking, I can isolate the audio clip itself by alt-clicking using my S key, and I can now hover over the audio and drop it down to 0, so I can no longer be heard and have all the real estate I need to add another meme or effect. By default, when you're working with your timeline, if you press the M key, you will place a marker. Pressing the M key again will open up the marker menu, or you can double click on the marker you want to edit. If you have a clip selected, it'll place on the clip itself. I prefer to click on an empty space and place a marker so that it shows up on the timeline here. You can change the colors and add additional notes to help them keep you organized. For me, having a marker just exist will help me know that I'm looking at a clip I want to keep for the video. Since the header flows to the right, I place my markers at the start of the clip, which is on the left side. If I see a marker, I know the clip on the right of it is being referred to and is going to be kept. If I don't want the clip after I cut the video up, I won't put a marker. And I'll just come back through and I'll start deleting every non-marked clip. The titles of the markers don't make too much of a difference, but I will color code them to signal what match I'm in. However, while I'm cutting up a video and skimming through, if I get a thought in my head for a meme or somewhere specifically I should zoom in, I'll add a note. Notes stand out beyond just the markers, as they add this little white circle on the marker, and it's very easy to spot. So if 2 days later I come back to do some editing, I can see all my markers and a few key markers that'll have notes on them, reminding me of the idea I had at the time. Very handy. So here I'm just going to use the keys we've customized, and I'm going to jump around in my intro video here from wave to wave in my microphone audio jack and chop the fat out of the video. I'll definitely end up cutting more in the video, but for now this will give us a good baseline to remove any dead air. So this is just a time lapse of me scrolling, zooming, cutting, marking, and deleting. I love adjustment clips, and you will too. An adjustment clip is essentially a blank video that you can add a bunch of effects to and have it overlay on your actual footage. This will let you do a bunch of editing without actually altering the original footage, and mistakes happen, so this is a lifesaver. To the left, in my toolbox and effects, you'll see adjustment clips, and I always want to have that favorited. So I'm dropping an adjustment clip above my footage on V2, video track 2. From here, I can click it, and in the top right, I can see my inspector is on. I always try to keep this on and visible, and I can adjust the zoom in for the video at this specific scene. We can easily drag the adjustment clip around if we need it somewhere else and extend it to be long or even make it shorter. I use adjustment clips a lot. The zoom is great by itself, but we can breathe a little life into it by adding some keyframes. Keyframes are like little markers in your footage telling the video what should be happening by the time it reaches that point in the video. Keyframes are represented by the little diamond shape you see next to all your options in the Inspector tab. I usually just click the diamond on Transform and turn them all on, but you can pick one specifically. In this example, I'm going to have a zoom at the start of my adjustment clip, and by the end of the clip, I'll have another keyframe that's zoomed in closer. Because there will be two different keyframes with two different levels of zoom in the same clip, as the video plays, DaVinci Resolve will automatically bridge that gap for me getting from A to B. So I'll start off zoomed, and as the video plays, it'll slowly zoom in until it's at the position you marked it at for the next keyframe. Hopefully that wasn't too confusing, but we'll show you. Now this works best once you've decided on how long your adjustment clip is going to be to begin with. Otherwise you'll have to adjust the keyframes later, so it's best to just figure out the length now. Once I have my adjustment clip set to the length I want it for my footage, I'll go to the start of the adjustment clip on the timeline. Now this is very important. You can tell if you're at the start or end of a clip by the symbols in the bottom left and right of the preview. So I know I'm in the single frame the clip starts at because of the little icon in the bottom left here in my preview window. Make sure we activate the diamond up in transform from the inspector tab, and whatever you do on this singular frame becomes our starting point. Once the diamond is clicked on, this turns keyframes on for any adjustment you do from here on out for this clip. So you won't need to keep clicking the diamond for any changes you make once you get zoomed in and where you want to go. Now I'll click myself to the end of the clip to set up our endpoint. But DaVinci tends to snap you to the beginning of the next clip rather than the end of the previous clip. So once I click, I need to use my arrow key left to get to the end of the adjustment clip. Again, we know whether we're at the end of the adjustment clip or the start of the next clip just by looking for the little symbols at the bottom left and right corner of the preview window. Now our adjustment clip is still zoomed in the same amount from our starting position, but we can zoom in closer to give it that animation effect. You can use the sliders, you can click and drag the number window, you can type in a number, or what I love to do is actually activate the transform tool at the bottom left of our preview window. By default this should be off, and every time I open DaVinci I have to turn it back on, but it's no big deal. We can also click and hold here to see other tools to use, but I just stick with transform. Now I can take the preview window itself, click and drag it to where I want it, and give the zoom here as well. Now we have a starting point keyframe and an end point keyframe, both with different zooms. Remember, once the diamond is on and red, anytime you move around anywhere in the clip, you're automatically creating a new keyframe telling DaVinci to get there. So only 2 is necessary to make a nice zoom in animation, and I do this a lot in my videos. Sounds a bit confusing at first, but it's not intimidating once you play around with it. Let's talk PowerBins. Now, by default, you don't have PowerBins enabled. I don't know why. So at the top, go to View and Show PowerBins. Your PowerBin is a place where you can store images, adjustment clips, and sounds you want to use across multiple projects. For me, this is very important, as I have repeated elements that continue to be used multiple times across my DBD Random Perks videos. But to start, I'm going to add 2 zoom adjustment clips. The adjustment clips are going to be quick drag and drops, giving me 2 different levels of zoom. This way I can keep my zoom levels consistent across episodes and not have to worry about remembering specifics. Because it's an adjustment clip, we can easily adjust the size of it to match whatever we need it for. But we want to make it smaller rather than bigger. In this example, I make a zoomed adjustment clip at 1.800 and another clip at 2.500, giving me a general close-up, such as on characters, and a super close-up for details such as character portraits, or text, or something farther in the distance. And I can still adjust these zooms once I place them, so nothing is set in stone here. So it's an easy click and drag of the zoom clip I want, scale it across the video as much as needed, and I can add keyframes from there to animate it like we just showed. Now it's important I don't add keyframes to the clip before I save it to the PowerBin. While you could do this, the animation needs to be fixed whenever you adjust the length of the clip. So I just generally don't do any keyframes until I know the length of the clip first. To keep these versatile, I just keep them as basic zooms. And whenever you're happy with your zooms and the length they are, you can just click and drag and drop them into your PowerBin. Now, there is a feature in DaVinci called Dynamic Zoom. You can see it right in the video inspector. When you enable it, it'll automatically cause a zoom from in to out, and you can click swap to make it go from out to in. This is very identical to what I already do, but it tends to only go toward the center of the screen. You can click the transform tool and click the dynamic zoom, where you can adjust the squares of how it goes in and out or in, but personally I find this all to be way more of a hassle than just keyframing, so I just stick to that. I do, however, still use dynamic zooms if I'm in the match and I want a self zoom in, as my character is generally in the center of the screen already. So I can just add one of the zooms we made in our PowerBins, select the adjustment clip, and I'll flip the switch on dynamic zoom and swap it if we want, and done. It's up to you if you want to pursue this method over keyframes, but I definitely prefer keyframes if I need to zoom in the corner of the screen, for example. And in this video, I do show an example of where I do just use the dynamic zoom and call it a day. Alright, I'm going to make my first real edit to the intro video here. And I want to keep the intro for the game where it shows the logo and the loading, but I want to speed it up so it doesn't make the viewer sit through an actual load time. This is super easy, and there's some neat stuff we can do with it, and I'll show you that later on. It's also how I showed a time-lapse effect for some of the editing I did earlier in this video you're watching now. Select the clip, and in the Inspector tab, I'm going to scroll down until I see Speed Change. You can click and drag the dials or numbers and increase the clip speed or decrease it. It's important to have the ripple timeline option checked, or else it'll speed up the footage while keeping the clip the same length, and you'll get other clips bleeding into the clip you're editing. It's a mess. So if we speed it up, the clip will get shorter, and if we slow it down, the clip will get longer, so long as we have ripple timeline enabled. I didn't show it in this example here, but you can reverse the clip by clicking the left arrow, and there's a snowflake icon that you can use to freeze a clip. We will be showing an example of using this in action to create a fun little effect, and we'll be doing that later on in the video. Alright, I am now ready to begin my process of skimming and cutting through match 1. First, I'll drag and drop whichever video from my footage folder I want to be match 1, and then I'll make it with a whole new color marker. In this case, I keep my intro as default blue, and I'll change the marker color to green to make up all of match 1. Right away, after dragging match 1 into the timeline, I'm going to alt-click audio track 1 and backspace to delete it. Then I'll alt-click the other audio tracks and line them up to match with the others. I can immediately cut the opening section of my video before I start the match, and right on the frame of when the first match begins. Just in case your video and audio files become unlinked, you can easily relink them by shift-clicking the files you want to be linked and clicking link clips at the bottom, so that they move and delete together. I'll use delete to get the ripple effect on this dead space opening, and I'll make it suck up to the end of the intro section. There is a lot of video transitions you can play with in the toolbox under video transitions, but I personally prefer a fade effect. Over each clip there are these white handles. You can click and slide them over to give it a fade in or out. You can even do this on audio. Personally, I shoot for a 3-second fade in and out between matches. Sometimes it's just short of 3 seconds, sometimes it's a bit over 3 seconds, but don't overthink it, and just know that a few milliseconds won't even be noticed. From here, using everything I've taught, I'm going to go through and skim the entire video using my ASD keys to zoom in and out and cut the fat off this video and shorten it up, and then we can go through and get some practical examples for edits. So, I've skimmed through and cut up the entirety of my first match, and I'm ready to make my edits. Going from one clip to another after cutting the video can be a bit abrupt, but I still do it. But I do like to throw in some custom transitions. By this, I mean I'll typically use a zoom or even a meme before I jump over to another cut clip. Here in this example, I'm being chased in one location, but then it jumps to still being chased in a different location. Right at the end of the first clip, I just use a zoom, and can even use the dynamic zoom feature here, and have the adjustment clip zoom end at the end of the video footage here. This gives it more of a pop in my opinion, and I think it makes a great pseudo transition between these two chase scenes. I have to get out of here. I have to get out of here. This one's a favorite in my videos. In a lot of my videos, I add this boom sound effect whenever a survivor teabags a lot. It's been an ongoing meme for me, and I do this across multiple videos, and I will continue to do it as I make more episodes. This is where PowerBins really shine for me. First, I'll find the part of the footage where I want it. Then I'll drag and drop the sound effect into the timeline. For this video example, I have A1 as game volume, A2 as microphone, A3 will be my memes track, and A4 will serve as my music track later on. So I'll take this Vine boom sound I got from my instance, and I'll drag it on audio track 3 and label it as memes. From here, I can make adjustments to the sound clip, such as volume or cutting out unwanted silence. Because of the snapping feature, I don't want the clip to snap, but start on silence, so I want to cut it down as close as possible. This way, I can drag and attach the sound from my power bin directly onto my playheader and trust that the sound will play immediately at that frame. This is important for trying to make the sound as close as possible to the crouching action. Once I have my sound cut down, I can click and drag it into my power bin. I won't be adjusting the volume here specifically, as I'll show you a more general way in a moment. But now I can use my arrows and slowly skim through the footage here, and right when my character drops it low, I can drag and drop the boom sound from my power bin and snap it to my playheader. I'll use the arrows to skim a little bit further, nice and slow, and continue this process over and over. Next crouch animation, another boom sound, and so on and so forth. I could use multiple audio tracks here, but because it's a silly meme and I have no issue just overlapping the sounds on top of each other, I'll just do that. And now, my power bin has the boom sound ready for future episodes as well.
What was that?
When you're grabbing memes and sounds from my instance, not all sounds have the same volume. So now, we have some sounds here in the meme track. I can click audio track 3, A3, which is my memes, and in my inspector, I can adjust the volume for everything that's sitting in this track. I like to bump it down, generally around -5 decibels as a rule of thumb, and I can always raise an individual sound's volume up higher if needed, or even drop it further without needing to edit the entire track's volume here again. This is also a good way to boost your microphone or game volume in general in cases where you have issues on those tracks. So I've showed you how to get videos earlier on, green screen effect videos, memes, things like that. I think this would be a great time to throw one in. So I have this meme of the Japanese guy winning the game show and he's just like screaming. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna throw that in right here as a reaction to the exit gates being powered up, isolated, and I'm going to just drop the volume all the way down. Open up my meme screen effects I've got here. You bump it higher up on the list for the video, it'll bump it lower down the list for the audio. So go ahead and shoot yours all the way up, and then from there, you can go ahead and delete the ones that you don't need. Now, obviously, we have this big, gigantic, bulky green screen blocking up everything. So when you're working with the Fusion channel, it will always show what's on top. And I'm going to shift space in order to bring up a select tool. And for this, we're looking for delta here. You just type in delta real quick, add. But with delta key, background color, I'm going to select this eyedrop tool. I'm going to click and hold. Now I have the little eyedrop right over the green screen. And that is that. We're going to take our zoom up in our power bin, our 2.5, because we want to be close up. Make sure that's selected. And now, you gotta know the mind of a killer. Okay, so we're back at the beginning of the match here, and although the footage is not ideal or that great, right at the beginning of the game, the Nia threw down the Killer Shack pallet, which is like kind of like, why would you do that type of moment. So I wanted to put a deep pry effect. I've done this a few times in videos where it's like a, oh my god type of moment where like your brain process sort of stops. So I'm going to take my adjustment clip that I favorited. Love adjustment clips. You go to search and type in color in the effects, find color compressor. This is another thing that I have favorited. So I'll drag and drop color compressor onto my adjustment layer. Boop, just like that. And now I have this neat little effects. I'm going to turn my target color to red, and then I'm going to up the saturation. As you, you see. I'm just going to maximize it right there. The next thing we want to do is we want to get the appropriate sound effect. So I'm going to click, drag and drop bass boost down here. Cut it down to size there, doesn't matter. It's all the same sound effect. And I'm going to drag it so it happens in conjunction with the adjustment clip. So if I watch it now. Oh, I got sick. Again. Oh, I got exactly the way I wanted it to. Right here, I have a quick example of using the dynamic zoom feature. I have the scene of my character puking. I can drag and drop one of the zoom adjustment clips. I'll go for the smaller one, and since I'm in the center of the screen already, I can just flip the switch on the dynamic zoom in the inspector tab for my video, and done. It's just a quick way to show I gave the scene a little extra love, you know? Get ready, because this next tip is a game changer. In this example, I want to show the viewer that I'm being unhooked by another player. I like to specifically show how I'm doing in a match, as well as who saves me. It's also a great spot to throw in a meme here or sound effect. However, here I make the remark on the person saving me, then it's complete silence until I'm unhooked. I don't like this, and I can actually shorten this clip and thus the entire video by a small amount by using trim edit mode. Just above your timeline, we've been mainly using the selection mode. Just to the right of it is the trim edit mode. So what I'll do, since my clip ends right when I'm done being unhooked, this is perfect for me. I can alt-click my microphone, the audio track A2, and with only that track selected, I want my trim edit cursor to show two arrows facing away from each other. Once I do that, I can actually shift my audio backwards or forward from the timeline. So I can keep my commentary, but shift it further up to replace the silence and to keep commentary throughout this clip. Now I have the audio of my commentary on the video of me being unhooked at the end. I'll switch back to normal edit mode, hit my handy S key to make a split, and I can cut the beginning section off to save on time. I use this feature a lot. I say a lot of things as I'm filming, and I might react to something slower or faster, and it can extend the length or just ruin a clip entirely. Using this, I can make it appear as though it was perfectly timed with commentary and get a better flow on my video all around. Here's just another quick example of just taking a zoom adjustment clip from my PowerBin, adding a random sound effect I pulled from the My Instance page, and just breathing a bit more life into an otherwise dull moment.
Oh, she's right there!
Alright, as we can see here, I've essentially finished editing all of match 1. I didn't show you every single edit I did, but I showed you everything that I used. It comes down to a lot of zooms, sound effects where I want them, and even a green screen meme. Now it's time to add some music to really tie everything together. I've already showed you the yoinking strategy, but you definitely want to be mindful of what music you'll be using in your video. In my experience, do not use any music from animes. I'll go more into details on this later, so don't sweat it. Video game music is definitely my primary source, and I use a lot of Nintendo songs. All I need to do is drag and drop something from my music folder, and I'll put it into my A4 music track. I keep all my music in one track as there's something very important we have to do later. So I'll go ahead and add that 3-second fade in I love so much to the start and end to match the entirety of match 1's length. I'll also click on the music track itself and lower the volume like we did on the meme track, so my music takes a nice backseat to the action. I shoot for around -15 decibels to around -18 decibels, -20, but you might need to adjust individual music files as well. Now that you have a music track, if you go back and edit some footage now, you might end up deleting a section of the music track on the music track itself. I click the little lock icon to lock this track and prevent any cuts or edits happening from here on. Whenever I'm ready to make a change to the music, I'll just unlock it and adjust it before relocking it again. And that's essentially it for my editing. From this point, I'll change my marker color again. In this case, it's going to be yellow, and I will drag and drop the second match I want to be included into the video. You don't have to do 3 matches like I do. You could just edit just the one match and have a nice small singular match, which would be great for your first time editing so you don't get burned out. I'll do everything you've already seen. I'm going to zoom in, I'm going to zoom out, I'm going to cut, mark, delete, add sounds, add memes, add music, done. Nothing to see here that you haven't already seen. Repeating everything we know, just on a different video. Okay, so this is something really fun I wanted to share with you. As you can see, we're just about finished here with my video. I'm already in match 3. You can see the color-coded markers at the top, and at a glance you can tell I have my intro, match 1, match 2, and match 3. I have a clip here where the Oni bonks me with his weapon, and I had a funny little idea to make it repeat very quickly and just pummel me to death. First, I'll isolate the clip of the Oni smacking me, then I'll place my playheader after that clip, and I'll push Alt-Y to select everything beyond my playheader. I can then click and drag and shift everything to the side to give me some extra workspace. But it's important to note that markers don't move with me. Now at the time of filming this example here, I didn't know a better solution to give me some empty space and also shift the markers with me, but I've learned how since. So while Alt-Y can definitely give me the space, if you make timeline markers like me, this will help a lot. when shifting the markers. First, I'm going to go into the end of the clip I want, then I'll tap the arrow key left one time, and now I'll hit S and make a split that's only one singular frame long. I'll then use D to zoom in as close as I can, and I can select the single frame split clip. From here I'll go to speed change in my inspector, and I'll click the snowflake to freeze this clip. Now this clip is essentially like a picture. Now we have to switch to edit trim mode or this won't work. With edit trim mode, we'll get to the edge of our frozen clip and get the symbol with the bar pushing right. We can click and pull it over, and it should push everything, including the timeline markers over it. Now that we have a bigger clip to see, we can zoom out and keep pushing it farther. Once we think we have enough space, we can simply backspace this frozen clip, and we're left with that same void we wanted to squeeze in new edits or effects, except now the markers have moved as well. Back to the funny idea I want to bring to life. I need a big empty space so I can take my original clip that I want, and I'm going to copy and paste it. That's Control C to copy and Control V to paste. Now I can just spam Control V to paste it over and over again. But this is only the beginning. The second clip I paste, I can go to the speed change section in my inspector and reverse it. Then paste the original again if I wanted. I'll paste another duplicate clip, but this time I'll increase the speed, also in the speed change section of the inspector. This new, faster clip will serve as my base, and I can now Control C to copy it and Control V, and I can paste it and reverse it every other clip from now on. But instead, I'm going to completely crank the speed up to 800% and Control C and Control V it several times and end up with a clip like this. Now that that's done, I can just double click the empty space I still have and backspace it to ripple my timeline back to the way it was. Alright, my video is now done. After match 3, I went back and I rewatched everything and made some additional cuts if needed, added some additional sounds where I thought it would fit well, and overall just gave it a layer of polish it didn't have before. Now with the music added, it's time to render out our video in the Delivery tab at the bottom of DaVinci. I'll go to the left screen and I'll set its destination to go into my complete videos folder. Gotta stay organized on everything. The name is DBD Random Perks 10. I'll set the quality to automatic and best. Double check my render comes out as a single clip and not individual. And then I'll add it to render queue. It'll appear on the right and I'll click render all. This process will take a while, especially if you're running on the free version, whereas the paid version of DaVinci will utilize more hardware and render this out faster. But overall, job well done. Remember to only use music on your own channel at your own risk. I'm not the fun police, and I won't tell you to use music only you own or whatever. Streaming and copyright is honestly one big gray area. Streaming video games itself is a great example of that. I have not received any copyright claims for using the music that I use, but I did receive a claim in DBD Random Perks number 5 for using a brief anime music clip from My Hero Academia in a scene where I take a hit for my teammate. This was just a claim, and it essentially meant I couldn't monetize that video any longer, but I don't make money from my YouTube anyways, so it's not a big deal. The video is still up and wasn't muted, so you can go to the video and see exactly what I'm talking about. Stay away from anime music. There's one final tip I want to share in regards to the whole copyright thing, because what's okay today might not be okay tomorrow. It's an ever-changing system with copyright, so I'm actually going to go back to the Edit tab at the bottom of DaVinci, and because I put all my music into one track, I'm going to click the mute icon to completely disable the music I've added, and render out the entire video again. This process is exactly the same, except I'll add no music to the title of this file. It's going to be in the same spot, same quality, but just no music. The memes and sound effects will still be there, however. One day I might wake up and see all my video copyright claims because some law from planet Mars passed regarding video game music. In that case, I'll have a video with no music where I can add something new entirely and the video won't be affected at all. This is just a small extra step I take in my own paranoia, but I think it's an important one nonetheless. The video with music will of course be the one that's uploaded to YouTube, while the no music version will sit and hopefully never see the light of day. Congrats, we finished a whole YouTube video and it's looking fresh. So we're going to be using Gimp. It's Gimp's time to shine. They definitely could have chosen a better name, but It's basically our free Photoshop program that we're going to be using. I will go to File, New, and I'm going to make a 1280 by 720. And that's going to give me the perfect canvas size for a thumbnail. I'm going to go to Google and just drag and drop an appropriate background for the visual aid for the sake of this video, but the first thing I want to do is add guides. At the top of Gimp, I click Images, Guides, New Guide. A calculator will help you a lot here, but I'm going to be making guides to cut up the canvas up into fourths. I'm making a new horizontal guide, and that's the 720 measurement we'll be taking into consideration. So, half of 720 is 360. Now I have a guide to snap to directly in the middle of my canvas, and I can repeat the process of adding new guides by now taking half of the 360, which is 180. To get my last guide horizontally, I take those two halves and I add them together. 360 plus 180 is 540. So my horizontal guides are 180, 360, and 540. And this is great. Now I'm going to add 3 more guides, but vertically. And it's the same process as before, but now we're working with the 1280 measurement. I'm adding in a cheat sheet on your screen so you can quickly copy these down and add 3 new guides with the measurements of 320, 640, 980. Don't worry, you'll never have to do this again when making your thumbnails, because now that that's done, we're going to File, Save As, Thumbnail Template, and Save. From now on, instead of creating a new file, you'll instead open up this file, and you'll have the canvas size and guides locked and loaded and ready for you to use. But we don't want to start doing work on our new blank template. So again, we're going to File, Save As, and in this case, DBD Random Perks 10 Thumbnail. You can rename your thumbnail to whatever it is you're doing. We've just created 2 different files. We created a template to use for future projects, and we branched off from there to start working on this specific thumbnail. Now I use Google to get a lot of my images. I mean, most of us do, to be honest. But I'll also use my handy dandy Lightshot app by pressing the print screen button on my keyboard if I want to use something from my game or a specific outfit I'm wearing. Here, I want to use the Oni, so I found a nice pic of him on Google. I'll save image, and I'll just drag and drop it into Gimp here. I know I want the Oni, but I still don't quite know how I want this to look, so for now, I'll click the eyeball in layers to the right and turn them off. In my DBD Random Perk videos, I have the Perk diamonds, but with different colors and question marks on them to symbolize that it is a random video. This is a recurring thing, so I'm going to show you how we make this. I'm going to resize this to be proportional, and this is really where these guides are going to come into play. And that looks really good. I've snapped that to the center of this guide. The placement, I mean, if I did it over here, that'd be fine. It doesn't matter. We'll be moving all of that later. But I'm going to go over here. I'm going to copy and paste. Take the move tool. I'm going to paste that down as a new layer. If I hold the control key and I use my mouse wheel, I can zoom in. It's definitely not perfect. With top selected, I'm going to come over here to colors. I'm going to colorize. And as you can see, you can just put a nice slap of color on there. Red. Pretty good. I might make it a little bit deeper and darker. Come over here and adjust this. Will affect the image as the whole, even that little border part right there. But again, doesn't really matter. I'm pretty happy with that red. Now on the left, we had, I believe, blue. Oh, make sure you click OK. On the left, colors, colorize. Put a nice blue there. There we go. I'm quite pleased with that. That looks very, very good. Almost like a Simon Says type of deal. So now that we have our perks, we need a question mark. I'm going to select white. I'm going to swap. This will swap. This will go from your original colors. So if I'm working with red or something, we can always click these little squares right here. Go back to a nice black and white. I'm going to put my text. I'm going to put a question mark. How does this singular question mark? We can go right up here where it's centered. It looks good. We're going to see about making this bigger. I'm going to highlight it. Raise it up a little bit. I think 250 is going to be the winner on that one. So again, I'm going to copy, paste, new layer. Now we got question mark number 1. Layer. Mark number 2. New layer. Question mark number 3. Technically 4, but that's just how it is. So this right here is done. This is absolutely done. So we're going to come down here. We're going to create a new layer group. Click on the little folder plus. And I'm going to put this as Random Perks. One by one, I'm going to start dragging and dropping these layers, oops, into the random perks. Ah. I guess I should have done this the other way, but that's okay. Things happen. So this is not an issue. It's just whatever you drag goes right on top, as one would expect. We're just going to, again, click and drag and just switch the rotation there. So now everything on the layers here is in this folder for this one random perk graphic. Next part we're going to do is we're going to click this little space next to the eyeball and it'll create a chain. This means they're linked. So now when I click on this, I go to my move tool, I can now move everything. We can rotate it. Yeah, see? I can scale it. And this is now a repeating graphic I'm going to throw in around my videos. Let's undo all that though. So this looks really, really good. We're going to kind of tuck that away off screen here because we don't know what we want to do with it yet. But that's good. We're going to go ahead and save. We did something major. Okay, so the next thing I want to do is I'm going to put a number on this thumbnail. To get around, we can click our middle mouse button in and pan. We can also use the space bar if we so desire. Oh, you know, this is actually the first time I'm working with double digits, so this is actually a little bit different. So I'm not going to line it up here, because if I lined it up about center, right about here, I have it cut off a little bit. So I'm just going to eyeball it, give it a little bit of gap, and that'll be good. So that alone, I mean, honestly, is pretty good. Oh, but if you look down here, it's been thrown into the random perks pile. Want to get rid of that? Drag it out of the folder. I'm going to right click it, and I'm going to put text to path. Create a path from this text layer. That's huge. Now, right over here, above your layers, you'll see layers, channels, paths. Now, we have path, which is what that is. I don't always label them, but in this scenario, I will. I'm going to label that as number 10, but usually you'll have path 1, 2, 3, 4. Super important. Now I'm going to create a new layer. I'm going to call it outline. Number outline, specifically. So now from here, with outline selected, I'm going to go to path. I'm going to select this one here. And I'm going to come down here. Here we also have selection to path, and we're going to paint along the path that we've made. We want it to be a solid color. I want it to be black though. Line width 7. This is what I use, but you can adjust this. Boom. We immediately have a nice little outline around that path that we just created. And what's best about this is that it's its own thing. I can drag this around, do whatever I want to do with it. That's pretty good, but I'm still not quite done yet. Now what I want to do is I want to create a gradient. I only started doing this around like number 5 or so. We're going to do number gradient. I want that to be at the bottom. I'm going to instead go to this gradient here. I'm going to create a box. Turn off the rounded corners. I don't want it. I'm going to create a box just like this. This is because I don't want to have the entire screen filled up with the gradient. I just want this particular spot. Now we're going to go over here to our gradient. If you don't see that, it's probably your bucket fill. Bucket fill and gradient are together. And we're going to do foreground to background. That looks good to me. And I am just going to create this gradient effect. And you can play around with it however you see fit. Right now we have it on linear. But you could do it the other way if you wanted. You could change linear to radial if you wanted to make it a gradient from like a ball, for example. Linear looks fine to me, and that's going to give me that little shine I like. I don't want too much of a shine. So I'll raise and lower this if I see fit. That looks pretty good. I'm just looking at where the outline is and how the gradient looks, and I'm pretty happy with that. I'm going to make sure we click somewhere else. Control-Shift-A. So I don't have anything selected. And now we just have this big obnoxious gradient box here. But this is going to help us in the future the way we're setting this up. I'm going to right-click the gradient layer. And we're going to add a layer mask. We want the layer mask. We can essentially switch this anytime on the fly if we want to. But I want full transparency. I want everything to be hidden. And just like that, our layer mask is now hidden underneath the shadows. White reveals, black conceals. So if I were to take a paintbrush, make sure I have the mask selected, not the layer, but the mask, and I was to wipe white paint across it, I will reveal that gradient. Very different from using the eraser. So why do we do that? We're going to Alt-click 10. And now I'm going to take my white brush with the mask selected. I'm going to reveal that gradient that we just made. And now we have a gradient 10. And it looks really, really nice. So I have the original text layer here that I can turn on and off. And you can see just what a difference that makes. So this is all fine and dandy. Everything's looking good. We love it. But I'm going to do one last little thing. Again, it's just all overkill, honestly, at this point. I'm going to add a drop shadow to it. So I'm going to put shadow. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to Alt-click, get that alpha, and I'm just going to paint this white. Doesn't matter what color. Matter of fact, for the sake of example, go ahead and paint it green. And now we have this green number here. You can't see the green number because the gradient's in the way. But now we can have the green number, which is essentially the same thing as just the number itself, but green. We're going to apply, we're going to Control-Shift-A to unselect it. That's very important. On the shadow layer, we're going to go to Filters, Light and Shadow, Drop Shadow. And we're going to zoom in here. Just increase its opacity a little bit, make it a little bit noticeable. Lower the blur, whatever you want to do. This part is, there's no science to it. I just kind of play around with it as I see fit. But there's this little preview window here. And you can see just what it is we've done. Okay. And that is it. So we have him here. We got him in a nice position. We got the random perks formation in the back, and we can click and drag that wherever we want to, but I'm quite happy with it, like right in here. Yeah, right there. That looks good enough to me. So what I'm going to do now is I'm actually going to Alt-click with the Oni, and that's going to highlight him. And every piece he's got, even like the hair and whatnot, I am going to select, grow 5 pixels, and that will just grow our selection out. And that will give us the bubble that we need. Now I'm going to put Oni Glow. And from that, we can take our paintbrush and we can kind of paint around. As you can see, I want to put that under, and that will right away give him like this white little glow effect, when really we're painting everything underneath them. Again, not necessary, but it's something I really like to do. Let's see if I get rid of the Oni. There he is. We've basically just traced that. Now he's got a whole thing behind him, but it looks like a glow. We could take it a step further. Make sure you Control-Shift-A so that you're not in that selection anymore. That way it can go beyond. Gaussian blur. That'll just really soften it up a little bit. As you can see. And then we've got our preview. We can click on and off just to show you what's going on with that. Nice little blur. And then, of course, I will add the shadow filter. Drop shadow. Opacity up. And you can really see the drop shadow. Especially over the random perk tree thing that we have. Again, I like to click the preview on and off. Just a little thing. Honestly, that's it. That's a thumbnail right there. Now, it really depends on what I think about when I make my thumbnails. I might add maybe Kate in there. I don't want to add her constantly, though. Maybe I'll add another survivor, or maybe we'll add some sort of object or anything like that. But really, that's good right there. But I also do like to add some text. So I like to add some sort of text here. Oop. Something that'll draw the viewer in and also just kind of cover up like some of that blank space that we have down here. But we'll essentially do the same thing that we do for number 10, except I don't add the gradient. I think that's just a little bit too much work, and also I don't know where the text is going to be. It could be anywhere, and the gradient won't be consistent for me then. So we'll just go ahead and add an outline to this as well as a border. So I'm going to put something edgy. No escape. And I mean, we did not escape the Oni. Now I can take the center of that and I can line it up right here. Before, I lined it up at the center right here. And I'm just going to eyeball it this time, but if you want to, you can add another guide right here to get like the true center of that. I don't really care enough. I'm going to right click that. Text to path. I'm going to create a new layer. No escape outline. That's above. Perfect. That's where we want it. We're going to go to paths. Select my color is black. I'm going to right click it. Stroke path. Solid color. Anti-aliasing. 7. Boom. Perfect. Beautiful. And then we will make shadow just because it's so easy to do. I'm going to alt-click my text. That way I highlight the text itself, not the outline. I'm just going to go on the shadow layer. And I'm going to paint. You can't see it because the text, the white text, is sitting on top of it. If I turn off the white text, that's what it looks like. I'm going to Control-Shift-A, unselect everything. And now, selecting that black text that we've used to cover up everything. Filter. Shadow. Drop shadow. I'm not even going to mess with that. I'm just... That's it. That's it. Ta-da! We've done it. We have created a thumbnail. There's obviously a lot more you can go into depth. There's a lot more elements you can bring in. And there's just so much more you can do with it. But this is what I'm happy with right here. I'm happy with this. This is good enough. When I make these once a week, not every thumbnail is going to be a banger, and that's okay. I'm still walking out of here proud of this. Even though it didn't really take much effort for me, I'm still walking out proud of this, knowing that, hey, you know, this is something that it looks better than just a screenshot of whatever YouTube randomly generates from your video. So go in with confidence, babe. We did it. Finally, I am going to save as. I'm going to save. We now have DBD Random Perks 10. And I'm going to go File again. Export as. I want it in the graphic assets. That looks fine. It already comes up as a PNG. If it's not a PNG, you can just literally type PNG. Export. I'm just going to click the Save Gamma Layer Offset. Export. Done. Just like that. We've done it. We've made ourselves a video with DaVinci. We went to Gimp. We whipped ourselves up a thumbnail. Everything is going super great for us. Love it. Now it's time to upload the video. Now, it is Wednesday for me, and I like to upload my videos on Friday. Upload a video. I'm going to open up my folder. You can click right there to select your folder, but we're going to go here to our complete videos. DBD Random Perks 10. 20 minutes. Boop. Drag and drop. And now she's being uploaded, and that gives us a lot of time to go through this. One thing I'm going to do right away, upload thumbnail. I'm going to click it this time. It already opens up the folder I use the most for this. Number 10. She is beautiful. That looks great. That looks wonderful right there. I'm going to put most intense game. Put a little breaker bar there. And just like that. Put whatever you want to put in your description. I have a little text document here pulled up, like a little cheat sheet almost. It's not that I don't know my own Twitch channel. I just don't want to put the HTTP part. And I know at the very bottom, because we're using some sounds, 99 lives, we're going to go ahead and use the copy and paste. This is directly as they want me to do. If you go to 99 lives and you look in their description, this is exactly what they want you to do. Just copy and paste this. And then from here, I'll whip up some sort of intro. I am using a YouTube buddy. What is this thing? I'm using a thing called TubeBuddy that I've installed. And this is what's giving me these little extra options here. See how easy that is? I have not made my description yet, but that's okay. We're going to scroll over. When this video is ready and it's uploaded, we can add the end screen to it. Okay, the processing is done. Now it's going through the checking process. We're going to add our little end screen here. You don't have to wait for it to process like I did. You can just do that later. Normally I would just import from a previous video, but we're not doing that. I'm going to click add. And we want to put this right here. If you click and drag this, very similar to DaVinci itself. Right about here, 2013. And that'll go on for another 13 seconds. That'll be fine by me. I'm just going to go ahead and add this element. One video, one subscribe. Boom. From here you can drag it. I don't have a whole lot going on my channel just yet. Got some like center points that you could take advantage of as well. But this looks really, really good. Now, by default, it looks like it went beyond over here where I didn't want it to go. So we can just drag that over. Now, this will appear right at the end of the video, just like you're seeing here. Video, best for viewer? Nah. So we're going to select video, best for viewer, choose a specific video, and I'm going to choose my number 9. So, my number 9 video will pop up there instead. You can also do some other card thing during your video, but I'm not going to bother with that right now. We have our checks. We're going to go to next. And copyright, no issues found. Yep. Visibility. From here, because it is Wednesday, my video is not ready. I'm going to schedule this. Brings up a nice little calendar for me. Schedule that for Friday the 26th. I like to schedule my videos out for 6 a.m. August 26th, 6 a.m. Schedule. And close. And that's it. Now it's processing the HD version. That's one of the reasons why you might not want to release your video the second it gets uploaded, because it'll upload the video by itself only up to like 480p. And because we have a 1080p video and there's text on screen, we want the viewer to be able to see that. I don't like to release my video immediately until that's uploaded properly and the HD part is rendered. And that looks pretty good to me, dude. I'm quite happy with that. And that's it, guys and gals. My entire goal for this video is that someone, somewhere, watching this video is inspired. I hope this handy video shows you everything you needed to know to take that jump into making a YouTube video yourself. Whether it's DBD or anything, really. Everything I taught in this video might not have been the best way to do things, but that's okay, because it certainly wasn't the wrong way. There's a lot of ways you can go about a lot of ideas you want, and this was just my method. This video took me a lot longer than I expected, and I had to cut it down from 2 hours. Please consider liking, subbing, and especially leave me a comment below and let me know if I helped you learn anything, or if there was something I could have done better myself. I'm happy to learn new and better ways to go about my process, and if I wasn't clear about a certain way I did things, just let me know in the comments and I can help clarify for you. Gotta give some shout outs to the people who helped teach me about DaVinci Resolve, and that's Mr. Alex Tech, Billy Ribka, and Casey Ferris. Their tutorial videos made it easy for a chump like me to understand, and if this video helped spark a passion for editing, check them out. And finally, I want to give a big shout out to everyone in the Vending Machine Discord for supporting me throughout my video editing journey. Link in the description below so that you can join and become a snack today. And finally, don't forget to check me out on Twitch. Thanks for watching, babes!